All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. I do see 100 people are waiting and chat is moving, so that shouldn't be a problem. We've got plenty of news to talk about today, all sorts of crazy shit. We've got the persecution of Donald Trump, Redux. Of course, that's in the news every single day. This is a bit of a white-pilled article, a little bit more white-pilled than I am, actually. Start talking about how the cases are falling apart and therefore inevitably collapse, and this level of persecution magically goes away. While this is a white-pilled channel, it is also a pragmatic truth-first channel. I don't think that now that the can of worms has been opened, it's necessarily going to close. Not to blackpill anyone, but I think that political persecution at that level will continue in the future, unfortunately. We'll see if we can put the lid back on the can of worms, but on that one, jury's out. Okay, I'll be cautiously optimistic if you want me to. Kamala Harris, gaslighting everyone on abortion. If Donald Trump is elected, he's going to sign a national abortion ban, something that he has come out against multiple times, strenuously and vigorously insisted he's not interested in. And he maintained the puristic original Republican Party line, which is, hey, Roe v. Wade ends. It's a states' rights issue. It has nothing to do with the federal government. There are some at the federal level that want to transmogrify it into one. That's not a good idea. Donald Trump knows better. So we've got some gaslighting. The gaslighting while she's gaslighting people. So we'll cover that. DeSantis has officially joined forces with Trump. He's going to be raising money for him and campaigning in Texas and Florida, which is the right place to put him. In those states, he has disproportionate support. So that's a good move by the Trump administration. Oh, wait, the Trump campaign. It's not an administration yet. We have to wait till November for that. Based on new polling, it's probable, I would say, at this time. The University of Amsterdam says pro-Palestinian protests caused $1.5 million, well, not dollars, euros in damage. We'll cover that as well. Belgium is having a real one. They just passed a bill involving sex work, actually, prostitution, you could call it. And I mean, some elements of it make sense, but there's one really shocking element of this that makes absolutely no sense at all. And it's basically like the state of Belgium is endorsing human trafficking and sex slavery. So Belgium, they're having a real one right now. Biohybrid robot made from flour and oats could act as a biodegradable vector for reforestation. Of course, you could just plant trees, but it is novel. It's kind of interesting. Anytime you achieve motility due to differential humidity, and it's entirely biodegradable, it's literally just flour and oats. That's kind of cool. I'm thinking, can I make my own seed robots or something like that? That'd be kind of a cool science project. And finally, California's secret 50-cent gas tax hike coming in the next 2 years. Yes, indeed. It's a tax beyond their normal tax level, and it's going to hit California real goddamn hard. But they don't care. I mean, people are already fleeing the state, so they're like, we'll squeeze more money out of the turnips that are left, now that half the productive workforce has either left or is planning to imminently leave. We'll just tax everyone else more. California will remain sunny and glorious. On to some super chats before we get into the news. Adonis Adams, how do you truly learn something? You can learn by learning in the book learning sense, or you can learn by doing, and these are not mutually exclusive. A lot of times people will learn something like academically, like get a degree, and they frown upon people who learn to do similar things, in the hands-on way. And then like the salt of the earth people, they learned how to do it from grandpappy, and they frown upon people that learned it from book learning. I think the two complement one another. It's like with gardening. I've learned how to garden partially by physically going out and growing things, and partially by looking things up in books and online and padding out my knowledge. They're both invaluable. You need the hands-on experience, and you need the wisdom of others who have hands-on experience who can impart that in a more efficient manner without you having to do trial and error. So both of them are invaluable for learning. Mike the Wop, Rumble Super Chat doesn't seem to have a filter. Better than YouTube's. Clank, motherfuckers. Yeah, it does have a filter, but it's a different one, I guess. Some people are saying that certain words are banned words over there. Tigers are my totem. Send $5. No comment. Thank you very much. Mulgara. Morning, Sticks. I won't be able to catch this live, but I wanted to leave you with this. Check your DMs and look into the Dexter Taylor case. It's infuriating. Yes, I saw that you mentioned that on a comment earlier on Twitter. I'll look into it. Pizza Slayer. I know you've mentioned courses, but any good recommendations for books on linguistic anthropology or linguistics in general? I can't remember the name of the course book that we had for linguistic anthropology at UVM when I took it. I'm sorry, I can't remember that. Any decent textbook on linguistic anthropology, probably, and nothing from the last decade because it'll be woke probably, but something from the late 2000s, early 2010s. I'm a little bit hoarse today, and I'm worrying that the pine trees are beginning to fuck one another. That's going to suck and suck for me because I'm allergic to pine pollen. I feel a little bit like congested and throaty. So if I sound a little bit off, it's probably the pine trees mating with one another, making little baby pine trees. There was a little baby peach tree actually out by the lettuce, and I moved it into the middle of the herb bed, and I'm really, really, really hoping that it takes, because the old peach tree, remember, it died out in the garden, and I'm so hoping that it has an offspring to replace it. That would be excellent. I kind of want a nice little fruit tree out there, not just for the fruit, but for the shade as well, and it's in the perfect location now where it'll be right next to the little bench that I'm going to set up there, so that, when I don't do garden work and I just want to sit there among the flowers and herbs and stuff and smell the sniffy smells, I can have a little bit of shade. That'll be fun. Andrew Saber, greetings from Nebraska, Sticks. Today is Nebraska's presidential and state primary voting day. Time to primary some rhinos. Yes, indeed. I guess if you are in Nebraska, make sure to vote for the America First candidates as opposed to the America Lasters, the neocons like Pence and Bush. Anyway, we'll get to this article first. The fall of the House of Presidential Persecutions. What will be the endgame of all these attacks on American legal system and the warping of it for blatant political purposes? None of the 5 civil and criminal cases currently lodged against former President Donald Trump have ever had any merit. I agree with that. They were all predicated on using the law to injure his re-election candidacy, given a widespread derangement syndrome among the left and a fear they cannot entrust a Trump-Biden election to the people. Yes, there is an element of a hatred for democracy in the small d sense, which is really strange because they claim that Trump's trying to destroy democracy, so they have to undermine it to stop Trump from destroying democracy. It's a little bit of circular reasoning there, and it has been for some time. These criminal and civil trials are merely the continuation of extra legal efforts of the last 8 years to destroy a presidential candidate in lieu of opposing him in transparent elections. Also agreed. As such, the current lawfare joins the Mueller investigation of the Russian collusion hoax. It is a continuation of the laptop disinformation caper and the 51 intelligence authorities who lied about its Russian origins. It logically follows from the 2 impeachments, the Senate trial of Trump as a private citizen, and states' efforts to remove him from their ballots. There has been a very, very broad plethora of lawfare against him. Over and over it fails, but just trust us, you dumb fucks. Next time it'll work. The E. Jean Carroll case, the Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and Fani Willis local and state trials, and the Smith federal indictment share various embarrassments. Now, this goes through the problems with the trials, especially Fulton and Bragg. And I am amenable to that. Now, where I differentiate myself from the take in this article is that it expresses the view that because all of these cases are probably going to fall through, and I agree with that. At this point, it's like, I don't know that you're going to be able to convene a jury in which 12 people are legitimately capable of saying he's guilty when the cases are so spurious, especially with the Jack Smith case, but that's on indefinite hold, so it doesn't really matter. I agree with that. But now that the can of worms has been opened, you can look for the unipartyists in the fake partisan sense to try to whip their fans up into a frenzy to continue the basic tradition. It'll never be aimed at unipartyists, though. It won't be aimed at the Bushes. It won't be aimed at the Clintons. It'll be aimed at people outside of the broad political hegemon, which is the uniparty. So you're not a neocon. You're not a neolib. You're this kind of person that had your nonprofit status bounced by the lowest learner IRS under Obama. So you're too far left for the neoliberals, you're too far right or too libertarian for the neocons, and so you get targeted. I have a feeling that will happen. Hopefully we're able to overcome this. What we need is a civic revival in the United States more than anything else. People have to do it for themselves. You can't expect government to do it. Government has been poisoned from the root to the leaf. The entire thing is just one big poisonous thorn tree. There is no way in which it can actually help you in your day-to-day life. This is why my white pill has always been drop of ice, gain a skill, Do something meaningful in your community if possible, civically, maybe charitable work, whatever it happens to be, and let's improve society ourselves. The more we can do that ourselves, the less government will be able to push itself. Society gets better, people don't want as much government. Society gets stronger, government's not necessary to boost things. And you can look for government, by the way, to try to cause problems on purpose in order to sell you a snake oil cure. That's what they do. Hey, we created a deficit. It wasn't us. It was somebody else that did that. We need to raise taxes. We need more money. The deficit would take care of itself if people were to be proactive. And the government's the one that caused it. The government doesn't want to solve the problem. The government caused the border crisis through its negligence. The government causes wars. The government causes all of these various issues. And then it asks you for money and more power to solve the problems that it itself created. This is when I realized that was the moment I became a small L libertarian. The white pill in this article is that because the cases fall through, it never happens again. I disagree. I think it'll happen more and more frequently, unless we can stop it from happening by making it clear that it won't be accepted and tolerated. And the people do have the ability to do that, not just at the ballot box, but through activism and through their own efforts. Miller's Mausoleum. What's your opinion on Snopes saying the Ashley diary is real? I think it needs to be shouted from the rooftops. Yeah, it's been proven to be real beyond a shadow of a doubt. And Ashley Biden has confirmed, yes, the diary exists. But it's not going to be reported on widely enough to affect the people that would still be on the fence. Those of us that knew it was real to begin with, our minds are unchanged. We already knew that. People who didn't believe it was real will ignore the story or never be confronted with it, and cognitive dissonance will kick in. For everyone else, there's ignorance of the issue even existing. So I wouldn't waste too much time on it. Mr. Buster Pants, plant a mimosa tree, great for shade and fragrant. I don't know if they would grow in this climate. Like the WAP, the diary shows who Joe is, but isn't it immoral to publish someone's diary? Probably legal, but I wouldn't want my dirty laundry aired to the world. Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Ashley Biden. First, she gets molested by her father, and then her diary goes public. And you know that probably happened, too. Viking Woman 1988, I am back from Poland and home in Massachusetts. Congratulations. Although, yeah, I'd like to see Poland's and the Carpathian side, of course. Dagnabbit 32, Trump recently endorsed unipartyist Tom Cole for another term in Congress. Should we worry about his hiring decisions in the future? Has he learned his lesson? Politics has to make strange bedfellows. Sometimes you have to endorse someone out of a sense of self-preservation that you don't necessarily like. BW, the thumbnail from your last stream was hilarious. You were looking at us like we were insane. Well, I mean, you're clankers, so quite clearly you're not mentally normal. Neither am I, by the way. Now we've got the ultimate gaslight, and it's the ultimate gaslight because gaslighting is actually brought up in the gaslighting itself. It's gaslightception. This is Kamala Harris the other day, and she goes off on a speech. Link in the description, not archived. It's a video clip. It's 44 seconds long. Enough with the gaslighting. If Donald Trump gets the chance, he will sign a national abortion ban. Methinks not, because he's been very, very consistent on this issue for a number of years. Donald Trump is in favor of the states mainly taking the reins. He even came out vociferously against the abortion, well, de facto abortion ban in the state of Arizona that dated back to the 1860s and told the GOP to knock it off. He does not want to ban abortion. He wants to go with that middle ground that the average American believes in, where you've got between a 12 to 16-week cutoff, with exceptions if the woman's life is imminently going to end if she continues, at the period roughly before viability. This is something the average American can get aboard with. It's something that the average American, a supermajority of Americans support that concept. Only a very small minority want to ban abortion outright. And that's why it's limited to a handful of very religious red states. Only a handful of people want abortion to be utterly limitless, like Northam style. That's why that's limited mainly to very blue states. For everyone else, there's the compromise wherein we say, if it's before the period roughly of viability, and certainly within the first trimester, or certainly within the first 8 weeks, when it's a chemical abortion, it's not even a surgical procedure, it must remain legal. At-will abortion after that peters out in favor of the woman's life is in danger. You know, at 12 weeks, maybe it's okay. Maybe at 17, it's not. This is the compromise that the average American supports. It's, by the way, the norm in most of the developed and Western world. Trump supports that. He's stated it unequivocally on a number of occasions, running up even against some hardliners, by the way, within the Republican Party, especially evangelical voters, on this very issue. The irony is that she brings up gaslighting in a statement that is clear gaslighting. She's asking people not to even look at what Donald Trump has said, and she's almost been ratioed on this post for a reason. I fucking wonder why. It's because she's living in La La Land. I said earlier, and Joe Biden didn't fly over the cuckoo's nest. He flew into it and he started laying eggs. Well, Kamala's right beside him. She's laying eggs as well. Hers are probably speckled, because, she's fucked up. She's the real cuckoo bird, as in she's goddamn fucking insane. I know why the Biden admin's doing this, though. They can't run on the border. They can't run on the economy. They can't run on diplomacy. They can't run on crime. They can't run on fuck anything. The infrastructure bill. Yeah, that's going to be a real winner with independent voters when they look at the inflation rate. So they're trying to foist back burner issues to the fore, but Trump hasn't taken the bait. Trump has come out and opposed his own party several times now on the issue of abortion. So he's removed that arrow from their quiver. The Republicans keep trying to hand it back to the Democrats, and Trump won't have any of it. He's like, shut the fuck up. Really? You're Republicans. I know that you want to lose because you're Republicans, but I don't want to lose because I'm an old school, 90s Democrat. So shut the fuck up. Biden has successfully diffused the entire situation, and they're just so desperate. They're grasping onto anything that they can grab right now to try to save their foundering political careers. J6, abortion, other things that nobody gives a fucking goddamn hell about. And so then you end up with statements like this, where something that is blatantly and objectively wrong, completely counter to everything that Donald Trump has said while campaigning and even as president on the issue, taking credit for ending Roe v. Wade and converting it to a states' rights issue, not saying he wants any form of abortion ban. And I do not believe that he would sign it if it came in front of his desk, by the way. I think he would veto it. And he'd anger his own party in so doing, segments of his own party. Independent voters would fucking love him. And he knows this. He's not stupid like the average Republican. Kamala's hoping he's dumb. And some Republicans that don't like him are hoping he'll take the bait. So far, though, they haven't gotten a bite from that fish. Simple logic 90. Chance Biden steps aside due to new polls. Virtually zero. He's already raising money, campaigning, and doing everything else. He is the incumbent. They're stuck with him. We got that OMG media release last month that showed when James O'Keefe was doing the thing with the White House cybersecurity dude or whatever he was, saying that they had plans to retire Joe Biden, but they couldn't get them to work. And they also had plans to retire Kamala, but then they said, well, if we kick the black female off the ticket, that ain't going to go over well. So it will be Biden-Harris 2024 for their campaign, which ain't great for them. Mind of a madman. Self-governance is best governance. I'm also trying to welder at my local shipyard. Excellent. Welding is good, solid work, Sebastian Lee, been noticing the media slowly trickling out the truth about the vax. I can't say that next part. Will they use this against Trump for 24? No, not successfully. Tony the Greaser, sup cats and chicks, stay greasy. Use some pomade. It's like Biden used back in the day when he still had hair of his own that wasn't a hair plug. I'm proud of you. Do you think the national debt should be more of an issue for Trump than before, or do you think the majority of people see it as a non-issue? There are too many other things going on for that to be a meaningful issue. While it's a concern, and those of us who are I have to read the news every day from my work, so I'm concerned about the national debt. Certainly. The average American's much more worried about inflation and the border and things like that. Doc Holliday. Greetings from California, Sticks and Clank Nation. Greetings to you as well. Let's see. BW, who's more full of gas than Kamala? Apparently Antarctica. We'll talk about that tomorrow. The Russians found a shit ton of natural gas and oil down in the British segment of Antarctica. Pizza Slayer is now a monthly supporter. Thank you very much. Mad Cow, gaslighting is referring to the Palestinian territories as an actual country called Palestine. Next week, Hogwarts is a country. BW, everyone, don't forget, from Joe's point of view, he has no reason to drop out because he thinks he still has the largest voter frog operation. Yes, indeed. Let's get to our merch partners before we continue with the news, now that we're 20 minutes in. We've got pumpkinfirecrafts.us, where you can get bookmarks, keychains, belt chains, amulets, of course, and engraved spoons, plus much more available as well now. Both sticks and non-sticks merch available there. BiltongUSA.com or AntonsUSA.com, the land of yummy meat. And he's apparently shipped me extra elk, actually, as of today. So I'm a little bit on the excited side. That's perfect garden fuel. We've also got Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available. Use code STICKS for free shipping. WickedNeedleEmbroidery.BigCartel.com, the land of Stick, Sex, and Hammer hats in various varieties, of course. So, you know, it's getting sunnier out. It's summer, unless you're down in Argentina or South Africa or something, then I think it's winter. And so you need something to screen the light from your face. Why not get a Stick, Sex, and Hammer hat? You'll be flashing it real cool. HeritageHeirloomSeedCompany.com, the land of the seed survival bucket. I've got a bunch of seeds from them growing out back. They're growing very well, especially the peas. Oh, yeah, those sprung up overnight with the rain that we got, and now it's 75 and fully sunny. So things out there are doing real well, corn and beans and everything else. Also, the land of the Stick, Sex, and Hammer soap box available there, apparently selling very well. We've got the cedar clove and cedar clove blueberry blend. That's the Stick, Sex, and Hammer soap, as well as their fruity slices and certain others that are available in that same box. We have websterswares.com/sticks-wares, where you can get various Stick, Sex, and Hammer merchandise. Of course, we've got beanies, coats, knives, straws, and all sorts of other miscellanea. They've also got Trump paraphernalia and other things as well. Jamnbean.com, that's JAMN the land of delicious coffee and tea. Costa Rica blend coffee, of course, my favorite, although they're all good. You might as well try a few of them, but get the Costa Rica blend. Just trust me on that one. And finally, MTPew, that is MTPEW.com, the land of ammunition. Yes, Clank certified. We've got range brass and newly manufactured in various calibers. 223, 556, 40 Smith & Wesson, 45, 9mm, and more available now. So you can hop on board there. Kathleen Green, clankety clank, motherfuckers. Yes, indeed. Andrew Saberg, hey, Sticks, have you seen the YouTube channel Bald and Bankrupt? He has a couple of videos of him and a friend actually traversing the Darien Gap. Crazy stuff. No, I haven't. I hadn't heard of that. Sounds interesting, though. Next news story. We got a big one here, politically speaking. DeSantis has officially allied with Donald Trump. And by the way, some people will still give him a hard time. My high heels, the Twitter launch of his campaign, admittedly kind of cringe. Or they think that DeSantis is like a backstabber. That's not the way that he's acting. Remember, he dropped out early. He endorsed Trump. It was a half-assed endorsement, but he gave it. Then he was in talks with Trump a few weeks ago, and now he's campaigning for him. He's doing fundraising for him in Florida and Texas. I don't think he needs to do anything further to redeem himself in the eyes of MAGA. While he is not core MAGA, and while he did provide a stumbling block to Trump for a brief period of time, and was his own worst enemy in the end. Well, technically his campaign staff and manager were more his worst enemy than he was. He seems more prosaic than his campaign manager had been with overstretching. I'm ready to forgive him for that. I mean, there's nothing to forgive. It's just politics anyway. These people pretend to hate one another, and then they insult each other and make up little quips and side swipes and names for one another, nicknames, like Donald Trump is famous for doing that. It's no harm, no foul. He was running for the presidency. And while it would have been well-worn for him to wait and not do that for his own political purposes, he decided to throw his hat in the ring. His campaign may have ended up in the end being a disaster, but he deserves credit for a few things. The Martha's Vineyard stunt, doing this, campaigning for Trump, and cock-blocking Kamala Harris. I mean, not Kamala, well, I mean, they're the same, Nikki Haley. I get them mixed up because they basically say the same thing and even look and act a little bit the same. You remember that time with Nikki Haley when she was with Sununu and she was trying to rebut a comment about small donations because most of her money was big corporations? And she's like, oh, no, the average donation's like $20 or something. Yeah, well, yeah, but there's not many of them. It's just that you're using median instead of mode, I think, or something like that. And DeSantis totally cock-blocked her in Iowa, destroying any possible path forward to victory for her. Then she came in behind in New Hampshire. He did his job. Yeah. So he's campaigning for Donald Trump now and raising money for him, which Trump desperately needs. While Trump has an advantage and the tailwind, and he can run a more shoestring campaign based on the fact that he was simply a better president, you do actually need to canvass with ads and stuff. It isn't all the free gratis attention you get online. Some of it is reminding the people that are watching the nighttime news, I exist. And that's really the long and short of it. Brian Gibson. Sticks, how do you think it'll play out if Trump is way up in the polls, but we lose in the middle of the night again? I don't know that they've got enough ballot printers to pull it off this time. Even Virginia looks like it's in play. Georgia and North Carolina are effectively off the table. Hell, it's looking like Nevada might be. Trump could compact his campaign and really hammer away at the Rust Belt states. CH sent 99 cents. No comment. Thank you. Sparky, you said Iron Dome was impenetrable when Iran responded to Israel's attack. Not true. It was heavily augmented by U.S. et al. Iran telegraphed the attack, sent slow drones, and still got missiles through. Yes, but it is much, much more sophisticated than anything that Hamas can contend with. Zach the Celtic Sky. So Chris Sununu is back to defending Trump. Lol. Oh, he is? Somebody please DM me on Twitter if Chris Sununu has decided to jump back on the Trump train, because that would be hilarious. He was a big Nikki Haley simp. He quite clearly fucked Nikki Haley, by the way. They certainly fornicated. I declare that to be the case. BW, what are they going to do if the Dems try to pause the count for a month? They can try. It's going to look a little bit too obvious. In the end, they might have to deal with Trump being in there, and then their next and last step is basically just obstruct him. Try to prevent him from gaining money for his pet projects like the border, which they can't do due to federal court decisions, so they've lost that before they even begun. Try to stop him from conducting proper diplomacy. They'll use the legacy media and big tech to try to whirlwind around him and prevent him from talking to people and making his point. They'll do the same thing that they did before. Only now they've had 4 extra years to augment it to make it more effective. So you can expect in a Trump second term, he will be obstructed at a level even greater than in 2016. His own unipartyist Republican Party will effectively turn their backs on him and refuse to work with him. He'll have to do a lot of concession making and negotiation to get much of anything other than the border and some foreign diplomacy. On those, he has much wider latitude, which is good. And I don't think the Republicans are going to vote against extending the Trump tax cuts. If that's all he accomplishes, extend the tax cuts, preferably indefinitely. They'll lock him in and improve them even further. Expanded child tax credit, self-employment write-off, all these wonderful things that Trump gave us that even Biden hasn't directly tinkered with, not without good reason, plus slamming the door shut on the border and ending some of the conflicts that we're in. That would already be a 4 out of 10 presidency right there. He'd already have done at least an average job based on those 3 things only. He barely needs to touch anything else. He's probably going to try, because his first Agenda 47 release on Rumble had to do with internet free speech and censorship. I think that's also definitely on the docket. And another big thing will be the Supreme Court. You could end up with one of the liberal justices croaking. You could end up with Clarence Thomas saying, okay, now that Trump's in there, I guess it's time to step back and he can replace me. The minting of effectively a Trump court that'll be intergenerational could begin in the next few years, which I think would be not a bad thing. His justices have been remarkably measured. Especially Gorsuch, ironically. They told me that he was basically the even further right version of Pinochet, but that hasn't actually panned out. Cody Johnson. Hey, Sticks, can I get a shout out for my new and first book, Coming Home by Cody Johnson? It's a sci-fi military thriller similar to Ghost in the Shell. It'll help me buy a PVS 14. So there you go, Cody Johnson. He's got a new book, Coming Home, that is available now. Johnny D. Smithson. Y'all watch Redacted? Yesterday, set to detonate bridge. Crew still in the ship. Baltimore Bridge. Interesting. No, I haven't seen that. And get me some details. University of Amsterdam says pro-Palestinian protests caused 1.5 million euros in damage. The University of Amsterdam estimated the week's pro-Palestinian demonstrations caused that cumulative total. Damage caused to municipal property and to neighboring companies and individuals was not included in the estimate. So this is just the public property that was damaged by these individuals. The UVA will reopen its buildings on Monday, which were closed for 4 days due to protests. This was a couple days ago. The UVA said there was significant damage as the result of the protests in the Rotterdam campus and the other UVA City Center campus locations, Oudemanhuisport and Binnengasthuis. I'm probably pronouncing that more or less correctly. By the way, UI sounds like AU if you're speaking Dutch. UI, for some reason, sounds like ow. I don't know why. It's just a quirk in the language. It doesn't really make sense to me. It's not clear whether the university wants to try to recover damages from the demonstrators. They'll cuck and they won't bother. The university says it is in consultation with various parties to determine whether and how these damages can be recovered. A decision will be announced later. Honestly, they're probably not going to recover it because the sort of people that have the time to do that probably don't have their own personal money to reimburse for damages for burning a police car or throwing over a bunch of garbage cans or something like that. They are probably not in that socioeconomic rung. Mommy and daddy probably are with their credit card, but they probably aren't. You can't get blood from a turnip, you know. I would just give them, give them community service. They can pay it back in some other way. They can scrub some of their own graffiti. Although I would note, in the nation of the Netherlands, graffitiing and stickering is basically a national pastime. It's kind of fun. You know, every lamppost is covered with all sorts of weird stickers that say weird shit, and I kind of enjoy that. You know, it's kind of cool in a way. Buckteeth Tarl's slutty hole daughter, Dashing Rogue and Mommy are still wrestling. Go, Mom! Yeah. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's Meat and Eat. Free shipping for your biltong using code STICKS on www.biltongusa.com and www.antonsusa.com. Check out our import grocery market in Denton and Roanoke, Texas, or online. Clank. By the way, Anton, I had some of the chamomile tea the other night. Boy, oh boy, did that pack a punch. It was almost as good as homegrown. I got a bunch of chamomile of my own out there, and that will knock you out real quick, especially if you're brewing it from the fresh flowers. But that was pretty close, strength-wise. Oh, I felt great. I was all relaxed. I was like on the couch. I'm like, practically nodding. Great shit. So I strongly recommend Anton's imported chamomile tea because it definitely, it's stronger than the chamomile tea you're probably used to. Like if you get celestial seasonings or something. Not saying it's bad, but it's more powerful. Belgian government will intervene in cases where prostitutes refuse sexual acts too often. This is not a parody, by the way. This is actual news. When I first saw it, I figured that it was like, okay, someone made a fake news page and they're like trying to make things that are as leftoid as possible, like as woke as possible. And then they front it as real news and people get angry at it and it goes viral, even though it's not real. But it actually is. This is legit. Only the Belgians could possibly ruin prostitution, by the way. A new law in Belgium celebrated by activists for providing a labor contract to prostitutes will also enable their pimps to punish them with a government mediator if they refuse sex more than 10 times in a 6-month period. Now, I'm assuming you're fucking multiple dudes in a night, so, you know, sometimes the horny 80-year-old with no teeth wanders in and you're like, I can't do this. Well, apparently you should hope that your clientele is generally at least reasonably respectable, because otherwise you're going to be fucking the dude with the AIDS sores, I guess. The Belgian parliament voted for the law on May 3rd with 93 in favor, 0 opposed, and 33 abstentions. Why did nobody oppose this? Now, some elements of the bill are protective of the sex workers, the whores, basically. The legislation is being touted as a win by UTSOPI, the Belgian Union of Sex Workers, which had lobbied extensively for the legislation. The law outlines that prostitutes will receive health insurance, a pension, maternity and holiday leave. So yeah, you got pregnant off the last John, so you get 9 months off, and unemployment benefits. So, you know, if you struggle to, you know, get enough people to fuck you, you can get unemployment now. Their pimps will be forced to provide them with a safety button to use for emergencies. I mean, that makes sense. You know, the pimp rushes in, I'm a beat your ass. No, not you, the whore. Their website claims that the law is a historic step in the battle for sex workers' rights and will create a respectful, fair relationship between prostitutes and their pimps. Yeah, that's really what happens in that dynamic. With UTSOPI spokesperson Don Bouwens telling media that he believes, of course it's a he, by the way, Belgium is really demonstrating that it aims to protect sex workers regardless of any moral judgments about the profession people may have. This is why, you know, it is hire an escort. At least, you know, they don't need a pimp. You know, there's a company that fronts them. Prostitutes are to be granted rights to refuse sex acts, stop sexual acts, perform sex acts in the manner they prefer. So you can put it in the back, but you can't put it in the front. And refuse to sit behind Amsterdam-style windows, public-facing windows where prostitutes are on display. However, should a prostitute use these rights 10 times within 6 months, their pimp can then call on the government mediator to intervene. How is this any different from the nation of Belgium effectively giving the green light to sex trafficking. How is it any different from them effectively siding with the pimps that in some cases are giving these girls drugs to fuck other dudes or abuse them themselves? Makes absolutely goddamn no sense at all. Andrea Hines, a prostitution abolition advocate, called out the new legislation on X, formerly Twitter. There is little chance this will actually favor women, agreed. Under legalization and full decrim, pimps become managers with the backing of the state to further entrench and maintain their power. Pimps see women they sell as products, not people deserving of full dignity and respect. I agree with that. Now, here's my nuanced view. I believe that prostitution should be decriminalized. If a person genuinely feels the need to sell themselves, some of them, you know, they're nymphos or whatever, they enjoy their job. If they genuinely want to do that, they should be able to do so and not get in any legal trouble. There's the public health concern, but if a person is going to prostitutes, that's their problem. Hate to say it, but if you choose to go and fuck the hooker, you might get a disease. You take that upon yourself. As long as you're not deliberately not giving someone else syphilis or AIDS or something, it shouldn't be a problem. Although in the state of California, they don't care if you do that either at this point. You know, pop my fucking sores all over that vagina. I mean, lube it up real good. I've got Kaspersky's sarcoma, and you know, it's nice and juicy inside of those tumors. It's sick stuff in California. This is the land of the fruits and nuts, my grandpa used to say. I believe it should be decriminalized. And I don't believe that you should be able to punish a prostitute for refusing to have sex with a person. It's their body, isn't it? Why should they be able to be punished in some way for refusing sex with a client? I mean, and by the way, you're kind of a loser if the hooker won't accept your $100. You know, you may have a little bit of a problem. You might be uniquely unlikable or something like that. I believe it should be legalized. That being said, it's a problematic subject. There are people that are drugged and trafficked into it. There are underage individuals in it. There are plenty of people that are on drugs of their own accord, addicts and stuff. And they get in with it and so forth. People with abusive boyfriends, and the boyfriend's like, hey, we need $100. You know, go on that corner, girl. There are people that are that scuzzy out there, but you're never going to eliminate it. I just think that this is not necessarily the right solution to try to make sure that people that are in sex work, whether by choice or by necessity, are actually taken care of to any decent degree. The Dashing Rogue. I swear it wasn't me, it was the Eurasianist. I tell you, I'm the Walrus Wizard. Maybe do it because I called Evola Gamma Male. Kid, that's all. Barbecue with Randy. Can I get a shout out to the NGO my wife and I run? We travel around the EU putting on barbecue events for free to troops. We have a GoFundMe. Fuel Aria Victus, barbecue mission for troops. Huge thank you. Sounds yummy. Damp Sock. University of Wyoming defunds DEI office, but transfers all wokeness into rebranded community engagement office in order to subvert the law. How sad. That's Wyoming. Big Floppa. Belgian government mandated dick sucking. Yes, exactly. You've already refused to suck 10 dicks in the last few months. Well, you know, I'm going to talk to the government if you don't suck this one. Yeah, okay, it bends 90 degrees to the side and it's covered in sores, but, you know, no glove, no love. Just put the latex on it. It'll be fine. Go ahead, dear. Suck it. You're basically making these people into slaves. Say H. J.D. Vance is potential VP. Possible, but unlikely. I'm in Ohio and voted for him because of Trump's endorsement, but I feel he doesn't resonate much with us closer to the Rust Belt. Yeah, there are better alternatives. He'd be acceptable, though. The Grizzly. How far do you think Trump's Internet Bill of Rights gets before Congress shoots it down, screaming some nonsense justification? He'll have to work with Rand Paul and word it real carefully. It can get through if he tries. Sparky, stop wasting time using a CIA Intel curated news aggregator. Instead, watch the Duran, the Gray Zone, and Jimmy Dore show. Don't feel bad. Tim Pool got fooled by the CIA by using CIA's NewsGuard. I use RCP and Ground News. Those are not CIA aggregators. Buck Teeth Charles Slitty Ho Daughter. Great news, since Cuck Dad doesn't pay child support. Jay Reed, what do you think about a sole fiduciary to a church selling tickets to a dinner for $40 each, then claimed a $3,000 deficit and wanted the congregation to pay for it instead of adjusting ticket prices? I don't know. I don't know any. If you can DM me on Twitter, is this a real case or something? Mind of a Madman. Have you talked to your cat about gun safety? Yes, I try to keep the firearms away from them because they're clearly murderous. Let's see. Clegg H. No comment. Thank you. This is an exciting one. In science news today, Biohybrid robot made from flour and oats could act as a biodegradable vector for reforestation. Researchers at Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia, IIT Italian Institute of Technology, in collaboration with the University of Freiburg, have developed a biohybrid robot which consists of a flour-based capsule created using 3D microfabrication techniques and two natural appendages from oat fruit capable of moving in response to air humidity. Named Hybribot, this new device can accommodate natural seeds from different plants, serving as a biodegradable vector for reforestation. The research group has already conducted positive tests with tomato, chicory, and willow herb seeds, the latter being one of bees' favorite flowers, from which the plants germinated. A patent application has been filed for the invention. Very exciting. Hybribot has been described in a paper published in Advanced Materials. It is born within the framework of the European project iSeed, coordinated by Barbara Mazzolai, Associate Director for Robotics at the IIT, and the innovation ecosystem RAISE, Robotics and AI for Socioeconomic Empowerment. The first author of the work is Isabella Fiorello, who, after a research period at the IIT and Mazzoli's group, is now a junior principal investigator at the Cluster of Excellence Living Adaptive and Energy Autonomous Material Systems, or LIVMATS, at the University of Freiburg. The invention represents a further solution that the bio-inspired soft robotics laboratory at IIT, a pioneer in robotics inspired by living organisms, particularly plants, has identified to address problems related to climate change, such as the need for reforestation of large areas and the protection of biodiversity. The oat appendices react to the presence of moisture with movements. They rotate, intersect, and accumulate elastic energy, which when released moves the capsule. Their movements continue until, without any control, the plant creeps into a fissure in the ground where it stops, allowing the seed to germinate. Therefore, the movement is not supported by batteries or additional energy resources. This is extremely interesting, and I'm wondering, where can I get some of these? It'd be fun to spread nettles that way now, wouldn't it? I've got a bunch out back, and trust me, their ecosystem is going to be expanding this year. It's a good idea, fully biodegradable. I mean, if it's made out of oat, it'd be fairly cheap now, wouldn't it? I guess the encapsulation process might be a little bit more costly. But if you want to sort of leave it alone, like just dump a bunch of these around by a plane, and you don't need the intensive human manpower required to individually plant trees and shrubs and shit like that, it could be a solution. And reforestation is a good idea, by the way. This is actual environmentalism. It's not the NIMBY bullshit. Real environmentalism is I found one peach tree seedling growing out there among the lettuce and carefully transplanted it into the middle of the herb bed where the soil is best in the whole garden. And I am looking forward to that because that's the only one that survived. Yeah, the peach tree left me a progeny. Thank goodness. Sparky, yes, they are. Don't fool yourself. No. RCP is a pretty fair news aggregator. So is Ground News. You should actually take a look at them. Probably buzzed. Hey, Sticks, I recently got into black metal and my hardcore coworker told me to be careful for the band Behemoth. Have you any idea why? No, actually. I know that their fans are a little bit on the warped side. I knew a girl, he dated a girl years ago who was obsessed with Behemoth. But, oh no, I'm thinking of Gorgoroth. Never mind. I'm not thinking Behemoth. No, I don't know why you would be, no, Behemoth is just standard black metal. It's more like black and death metal than strictly black metal anyway. I don't know. I like Marduk. Gorgoroth's pretty good. I like, I like black metal in general. I like I'm in a Coffin. I like the depressive black metal because it's so over the top that it almost becomes funny, actually. I know that's not the intent. The intent is like, I'm going to slit my wrists. I'm so sad. But really, it just makes me chuckle. I used to listen to black metal all the time while stoned back in UVM. I thought it was great. That and grindcore. That was great. And then finally, California's secret 50-cent gas tax hike coming in the next 2 years. The tax increase is a tax on a tax, Republican tax hawk says. In September, the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, the state's primary environmental regulator, reported gas prices will rise next year by about 50 cents a gallon, and every year thereafter to aid in clean air efforts. In other words, they're trying to force you to use an EV, even though the electricity is partially from fossil fuel. The price increase does not include the existing gas tax in the state. Republican State Senator Janet Onion, one of the legislature's most critical tax hawks, told Fox News Digital the secret tax increase would penalize the majority of Californians. Also keep in mind, it would make it more expensive, assuming you're applying this to other fuels, and you will, to do short-haul trucking, to do shipping, mail services. Literally everything gets more expensive when you go after energy. This is why I support Donald Trump in his gung-ho approach to drill, baby, drill. That's really what we need right now. If anything, when I saw that the Russians had discovered a shit ton of gas and oil down in Antarctica in the British area down there, they were doing their exploratory survey, I said, well, you should encourage the extraction of this material. Let's scrap the original Antarctic Treaty and allow the draining of resources. By the way, Russia does not actually have a slice of the pie down there at all. So, that's a lot of fuel, dude. It's apparently 10 times the output of the North Sea over the course of an entire half century. That's how much oil they found in a single survey in one part of Antarctica. It's untapped. There's plenty of oil there. There's plenty of gas. There's plenty of minerals. They're all there waiting to be extracted with the right technology, and people refuse to do so. Anyway, the report foresees gasoline prices increasing due to the low carbon fuel standard reforms that were created in 2007, likely rising by 47 cents next year and 52 cents by 2026. Diesel prices could climb by 59 cents. There's your trucking, by the way. This year and 66 cents in 2 years. Long-term projections suggest gasoline could surge by $1.15 and diesel by $1.50 per gallon from 2031 to 2046, with jet fuel increasing by $1.21. In other words, California insists upon committing economic suicide. How are you going to have an economy when nobody can afford to drive to work? Oh, but we have mass transit. Well, yeah, but you need a lot of mass transit for a place like Los Angeles now, don't you? Not everyone's going to be hooked up to the bus system reliably now, are they? And what if the train breaks down? Webster's Wares. Good morning, clankers from Hooper, Washington this morning. Free shipping using code STICKS and 25% off store-wide using code CLANKER25 at websterswares.com. Pumpkin Fire Crafts. Good morning from the beautiful Shenandoah Valley. Sorry I haven't been here as much of late. Doctor's appointments lately. New laser art has been added and adding more today. Trying to work on more leather projects. Excellent news. Phoenius Sticks. Due to the unfurling of the lawfare against the Big Don, do you think it will be 1963 all over again? By the way, my first live stream. Love your content and analysis. Thank you very much. I think that the lawfare collapsing will lead to them backing off into their final redoubt, which is they hope that he doesn't get elected, but they probably expect that he does. I mean, if the cases fall through, he's basically been reelected at this point, but with the economy and the border and stuff. And then they simply obstruct him. And the Republicans will do it with a straight face and say, well, we just don't believe in Orange Man's ideas. He wasn't legitimately elected, so we refuse to work with him. The Democrats will definitely do that no matter what happens, by the way. He could win every state and they'll refuse to work with him. Well, he's a felon. They'll stomp their feet and they'll hold their breath and dumb shit like that. Mind of a Madman. Dark Throne and Mayhem. I like them too. Sparky, then why do they always match or at least not interfere with the establishment narrative? You'll find plenty of countervailing stuff on RCP. I don't know what you're talking about. MD, what are your thoughts on Lindsey Graham's recent warmongering freakout on live TV? Didn't get to see it. If you see something like that where Lindsey Graham or somebody like him is freaking out, definitely DM me a link on Twitter because I'm always interested in that. Webster's Wares, great news! Due to Clanker support, we are able to hire our friend to locally customize Sticks merch and purchase a $5,000 laser engraving machine. We will have a big Clanker code to celebrate soon. Excellent. More merch. Book. Greta Thunberg scores very high on the fetal alcohol syndrome checklist. Yes, she quite clearly has fetal alcohol syndrome. Absolutely. She's also got mild mental retardation, actually. She's the irony is that in the speaking sense, she's reasonably well spoken. She constantly like twitches and makes weird faces and crazy shit like that. Do you remember that time she was dancing around with those other kids on stage at that rally or concert or whatever the fuck it was? And that was like ultra cringe. It's like, okay, I understand you're still a teen, so you're allowed to be a little cringe, but you fancy yourself as some sort of major activist and socio-political figure. What the fuck are you doing? What I really hate is when people have the thirst posting for Greta Thunberg, and I'm like, what the fuck are your standards, dude? Oh, the mail just came. Webster's Wares now off to service 7 AC units. Clank, clank. Good luck. Inject the Freon. Yeah, we ran out of news. This is usually the time when I ramble about random shit. I don't know what I want to ramble about, though. Driel, Greta's parents are pimps. Yes, they quite clearly got her into that. They're like, well, she can't hold a normal job, but she's young and she can speak several languages, so we'll just put her in front of the cameras. And they had that one picture where they had like the $15,000 chair and weird shit like that. And she was like, poor little rich girl. Vault Boy. Sticks, Germany looking to conscript 18-plus-year-olds for the upcoming inevitable war, quite possibly for debt erasure, while also sending political dissidents. I don't think there's an inevitable war between the Europeans and the Russians. I really don't think so. In the immediate future, Trump could be reelected. That would forestall that at least for 4 years, so I wouldn't worry too much. At least you've got the German MREs. Those are considered to be pretty good. Too bad you're not in France. Those ones are like fucking delicacies. Alien testosterone. So Salty is a fan, but does the Sticks even have a re-face culture collab? I don't know. I'd like to collaborate with Salty Cracker sometime. I've been talking about that for the better part of a year. Yeah, Sith22. 4chan does love lusting over her raisins, though. I can never understand that. I don't get it. I mean, imagine the smell, Johnny D. Smithson, Oregon charging $150K tracking for even one chicken? I'll need a link to that as well. I have a feeling that can't possibly be right. I want to raise some chickens. My mom hates the idea. She's like, well, chickens smell and they're annoying. And I'm like, no, chickens are adorable. They peck around. They do cute little noises, and you can pet the little chicken head. They might peck you, but who gives a shit? Then you just backhand them a little bit. Sparky, Sticks, your self-appointed senior advisor. I'm giving you guidance. Maybe you should ask yourself if Sparky's always right. Maybe I should heed his advice. Well, I do pay attention to RT and things like that as well. I'd point out that there's not a media outlet out there that doesn't have bias. Hell, I have a bias. It's a small L libertarian bias. When I talk, I wear that on my sleeve. I've got no time for authoritarianism. Mind of a madman. How do I make a biodiverse lawn? Also want, what do you think of clover lawns? Clover is cool. Has problems here because of the mole problem. I would strip out chunks of the lawn, housing authority aside, and just plant a bunch of other shit. Clover, wildflowers. Don't mow it every week. And Ms. Kim 1223, merch hot sauce. You can call it stick sauce. I use that Realm Walker sauce and all of the other sauces and rubs and powders and salts that people send me. I've got all sorts of stuff. That firecracker salt, the Realm Walker. Anton sent me stuff. The mayor there, he sent me that the General's hot sauce with a little glass hand grenade, which looks formidable. I have a feeling that that's going to be one of the hottest, considering Carolina Reapers are the main ingredient there. I have thought about making a hot sauce. I'll have to look more into the process, though. I don't want to poison anyone accidentally. That would be bad. It's Kenreza. Afternoon coffee got me awake at 2:30. Lucky Sticks is on. Excellent. The Emperor's Champion. French MREs are on point. Tried one while I was living in Calais. Yeah, I had one. Also Danish. Danish is good. Swedish is good. I would say the US MREs are pretty good, actually. They've definitely improved over yesteryear's versions. British is good. Australian is good. Anything Commonwealth. Anton sent me a South African MRE. So I'm probably going to crack that open and do an actual MRE video at some point in the immediate future. Probably wait until it's hotter weather. Today it's kind of hot, but I don't really want to eat an MRE right now. I got to do live stream. I'll wait till a weekend day, I think. I love MREs. Military food's great. Another clanker sent me several MREs and a whole bunch of the side components with the spreads and the crackers and everything else. So I've got, if the nuclear war starts today, I've probably got about 3 weeks of MREs alone worth in the bedroom. So I think I'll be fine. And then JD sent me all of those dried soups and all the Japanese food. So there's another few weeks worth of food. Somalian MRE. That would be a bag of sand, actually, Crispy. A Haitian MRE is a few of those mud crackers that they supposedly eat. I have a feeling that's more for calcium infusion than as an actual food. I'm assuming that at least a bowl of rice is available even in Haiti. Could be wrong, though. Clinton Foundation swoops in and every bit of wealth goes out the window. Kenyan MREs are the lightest ones available. Cat piss tea, yum. Yeah, could be. I know in China they eat eggs that are boiled in young boys' piss, actually. They consider them medicinal. That's not a joke. They boil off the shells with the schoolboy piss, and they consider it to be bracing against various maladies. I'd say the best MRE, though, is the Australian MRE. It's not the most fancy, but it's massively calorically dense. It's got all sorts of crazy shit in it, like Musk Lifesavers, which I personally liked. And I'd say those are the best. I'd say the French is a close second. Sparky, chickens can keep pests out of your garden while providing next year's fertilizer. Yeah, although I have heard somebody says that they will eat the seeds off certain plants, so you have to be careful. I don't think they go after like basil or anything like that. Australian MRE, a literal bag of spiders. I don't understand, because I've had MREs from around the world, and most of them are pretty good. Like the Russian MRE is fairly good too. The meat may not look very palatable, but the spreads and stuff like that are really good. The Polish MRE was a little weird. For some reason, and they may have changed it now, it included plastic cups, which makes no sense room-wise. It included a shit ton of fucking candy, hard candy, like 20 pieces of hard candy in one of these MREs. It still uses the old canned components instead of the retort pouches. The Polish MRE is probably the most zany one that I've ever seen. But one thing in there that they had that I like, I really, really love the flavor, the Panzer Armor biscuits. These are immensely hard, dense crackers sprinkled with caraway. That's probably why I like them. Try chewing on them and see if you don't lose a tooth. You will have to soften them up before you eat them. The taste, though, is superb, and I imagine they probably last 50 years or more unless you expose them to undue humidity. On that token, yeah, the Polish MRE, including those, is great. The Estonian ones, I believe, have them as well, and I think there was one in the Ukrainian MRE. Yeah, I wonder if Mexico does have its own MREs. I know some nations get them from other nations, like New Zealand gets them from Australia, I believe, if I remember correctly. And a lot of the Australian components are made in New Zealand, like the lamb and stuff like that. Which, by the way, in the Australian MRE, the lamb was exquisite, actually. Not just good, but exquisite. It was perfect. The Emperor's Champion, Haitian MREs, happy cannibal noise intensifies. Yeah, if you find a nose in that can, then you're one of the lucky ones. Anyways, I thank you to the 4,000 people who tuned in live. I'm going to go offline here. I'll be back tomorrow with another live stream with the news, and also at 5:30 p.m. I will be live again with the Quartering on his show, of course. I've got to do some garden stuff. I've also got a digital meeting with one of the people from Rumble. I have to do that. I think that's in half an hour or so, and a few other things. Really, though, I really want to spend as much time in the garden as possible. Also getting hungry, thinking about all the MREs. Maybe I'll eat SpaghettiOs. Yeah, I know. They're terrible for you. Fucking sue me. That's about all. Peace out.